also called the Bharatpur Bird Sanctuary, is known as an ornithologist's delight for the variety of bird species that it hosts in an environment without motor vehicle fumes. This has been made possible thanks to a unique practice of taking around tourists in cycle rickshaws that entirely eliminates vehicular pollution. The people who have made this possible are the rickshaw pullers, who also double up as nature guides.
We hopped on the cycle rickshaw of Sergeant Singh, who has been peddling tourists around the park for over 30 years. His rickshaw carries the number 1 badge, meaning it was the first ever rickshaw to be registered to ply inside the Keoladev National Park.
1956 is a declare for the Ghana Bird Sanctuary, and 1981 declare for the Kevladev National Park, or 1985 declare for the World Heritage Site.
Sergeant Singh then steered his rickshaw to spots where some of the winter migratory birds could be seen.
The migratory birds, they don't nesting here, but coming for the winter visitor. It's coming for the October month. The migratory birds stay for the 5 6 months. Then after go to the same country, cold country.
We were able to spot ruddy shelduck, spot-billed duck, knob-billed duck, northern pintail. Up ahead, a flock of bar-headed geese was flying in formation, while a painted stork was gathering grass for its nest, and an open-billed stork was wading through shallow water. He then pointed out to some of the resident birds of the park that abound its trees at various times of the year. Among what we saw were spotted owlet, yellow-hooded wagtail, pied myna, Siberian stonechat, white-breasted kingfisher, Scops owl, black-crowned night heron, and long-tailed shirky.
So local bird nesting inside the park in the acacia trees, nesting and breeding inside the park for the egret, heron, cormorant, snakebird, storks, ibis, spoonbill.
A little further away, just by the side of the path, a marsh harrier was devouring a coot bird it had hunted in the swamp a while ago. Sergeant Singh then paddled us to a spot where one of the most effective predators of the wetlands, the black-necked stork, was out hunting. As luck would have it, we saw it drag a snake from out of its hole.
Other predatory birds of the Kealadev which we saw are the grey heron that feeds on water snakes, shikra that eats up smaller reptiles such as garden lizards and young ones of monitor lizards, a crested serpent eagle that is the nemesis of snakes took flight from its perch. A purple heron swallowed a catfish, and a darter, also called a snakebird, scooped up a tiny fish. Facing the swamp was an oriental darter calling for its mate. Close by, a flock of ibis was rummaging for insects, while a pond heron was perched on a low branch to ambush little fish. In the post-monsoon period, when many insects such as the dragonfly abound, the green bee-eater and Indian roller lose no opportunity to find a meal.
Around a bend, we could hear some knocking in the trees. It turned out to be a coppersmith barbet, a tiny little bird with crimson forehead and throat that was drilling out a nest. Sergeant Singh then showed us a snake climbing up a tree in search of birds' eggs or newly hatched chicks. The snake life in Keoladev is pretty abundant. Aside of water snakes, you have snakes such as dhaman, cobra, python, and even the feared Russell's viper. The rickshaw pullers stop their vehicles when a bird of interest is spotted, telling tourists about its feeding and breeding habits. Having put in decades of service peddling and looking for birds, they can identify a bird by its call and so are able to spot birds camouflaged in trees and dense undergrowth. The keen eyes and ears of the rickshaw pullers have on earlier visits led us to some of the less frequently seen birds and animals of Keoladev, such as the red avadavat, also called red munia, one of the most colorful birds of India, the oriental honey buzzard that feeds on beehives, the red-headed vulture that is coming back from near extinction, the nocturnal nightjar, the rarely seen Indian bush rat, and its predator, the shy jungle cat.
जैसे कि ये वाइट वाली है, अपन जिसको ई ग्रेड कहेंगे, वो जिल्बर राया कहेंगे इसको, और उसके पीछे पर्पल हेरोन है, अपन इसको पर्पल हेरोन कहेंगे, वो पुरपुर राया कहेंगे सर। और जैसे ये ओपन बिल स्टॉर्क है, ये वाला एशियन ओपन बिल स्टॉर्क है, वो इसको ओपन स्नाबल स्टॉर्च कहेंगे सर। और जैसे वाइट ब्रेस्टेड वाटर हैन है, तो वाइट ब्रेस्टेड वासरहून कहेंगे उसको। जैसे स्नेक बर्ड है, शलांगन आल्स पोगल कहेंगे उसको। किंगफिशर है, उसको आइस पोगल कहेंगे। पेंटेड स्टॉर्क हैं, उनको बोंदो स्टॉर्च कहेंगे। सारस क्रेन है, उसको ग्रानिस पोगल कहेंगे। फ्रेंच में एरोन है, वाइट वाला एरोन है ग्रीजो, ईगल से आइगल, किंगफिशर से मक्ता फिशर, मूरहन से वासरहून, पर्पल मूरहन को पारोहून, और स्नेक को सरपेंट है। ये जो भी सामने आता जाएगा वो तो हम बताते जाएंगे उनको।
Here is where the rickshaws highlight their biggest advantage in bird watching. Their slow speed helps immensely in spotting birds, while their noiseless approach does not scare away the bird or the animal.
डिपार्टमेंट ने इनको ट्रेंड किया है रिक्शा वालों को, क्योंकि अगर किसी ज़माने में गाड़ियाँ आया करती थी और वो गाड़ी से डिस्टरबेंस होता है, लेकिन रिक्शा का कैप्टन सोनी यहाँ पे जो इंचार्ज रहे DFO, उन्होंने ये रिक्शा चालू किया। तो रिक्शे थोड़े थोड़े उनको ट्रेंड किया, हमने सिखाया बच्चों को, उनको सबको धीरे धीरे स्लाइड शो कर करके। अब तो बहुत इंटेलिजेंट है। अभी 1 से 23 रिक्शा हैं। ये सराउंडिंग पार्क के जो गांव हैं उनके बच्चे हैं, शहर के भी हैं, गरीब आदमी हैं, उन लोगों को लाइसेंस दे दिया सिखा के। सब पूरे इंडिया में सबसे पहला जो नेचर गाइड जो ट्रेनिंग जो हुआ भरतपुर में शुरू हुआ, भरतपुर में। और भरतपुर के बाद आज जो है पूरे अपने देश के अंदर सब जगह नेशनल पार्क जो भी टाइगर प्रोजेक्ट है, सभी जगह ये वहाँ के लोगों को सिखा के गांव वालों को गाइडिंग कर रहे हैं, बेचारे उनका धंधा कर रहे हैं।
Sergeant Singh was peddling for over 2 hours now, and we could not resist but ask him about the secret of his fitness.
81 का लाइसेंस है मेरा। 32-33 साल हो गए मेरे को इसमें पार्क में चलते हुए। सुबह उठते ही 4 बजे मैं उठाता हूँ, उठ करके फिर वो चाय बनाती हैं। एक गिलास वो पीती हैं, एक गिलास मैं पीता हूँ। एक गिलास दूध गर्म करके उसमें थोड़ा सा घी डाल देती हैं, देसी घी, वो मिला करके थोड़ा पी लेता हूँ। जो घुटनों की ग्रीस है वो अभी रमा हो चिकनी हो चुकी है।
We then asked Bhagat Singh about his earnings and whether he is happy with his job.
12 किलोमीटर से 20 किलोमीटर के बीच में चला लेते हैं रिक्शा, और 10, 12, 15 हज़ार रुपये महीने के हिसाब से हमारी कमाई हो जाती है। ये सर्दियों में अच्छे टूरिस्ट चलते हैं तो अच्छी जॉब हो जाती है, समर में कम हो जाता है काम। तो ये औसत 12-13 हज़ार रुपये के करीब हमारा महीना पड़ जाता है। आते हैं हम पार्क में, पार्क के गेट पे नंबर लगा के बैठे रहते हैं। टूरिस्ट मिल जाता है तो राउंड लगा देते हैं, नहीं तो खाली वापस चले जाते हैं। और काम मिल जाता है फॉरेस्ट की तरफ से तो वो कर लेते हैं। फॉरेस्ट में ज़्यादा इच्छुक हैं हम, शहर में हमसे कोई काम नहीं होता, क्योंकि जंगल की एक ऐसी आदत हो गई है कि जंगल में ही रहना पसंद करते हैं।
The trained eye of the rickshaw pullers, sharpened by years of experience, are able to spot some rare sights, such as this wild boar and jackal feeding together on a cattle carcass.
The most sought after birds in Bharatpur are the Saras cranes. These large birds of the North Indian plains are known for their graceful flying and courtship ritual. The male and female are always together. We were fortunate to see the entire sequence of flying in, feeding, drinking water, and finally the graceful run up and then flying off in the distance. As it was the hatching season, we were super lucky to spot a Saras couple tending to their recently hatched chicks.
It is no surprise that the Bharatpur Bird Sanctuary boasts among the highest bird densities of any sanctuary in India. The credit should be shared by visionary forest officials who conceived the scheme of nature safaris on cycle rickshaws, and for those officials who continued with the cycle rickshaw taxi system despite pressure to allow battery operated vehicles. Of course, all this would have come to naught had it not been for the commitment of the rickshaw pullers to continue pedaling in the face of low and uncertain wages and physically challenging conditions.